Water planning for the Sydney and for the Lower Hunter is a very healthy process. Partly, I think, because the successive governments have embraced the notion of having an independent panel oversee what's happening, but also because there's a very mature approach to the general idea of how to plan and on what sort of time frame. So I think the time frames in the New South Wales approach are realistic. They're not too long and they're not too short. They've just got a healthy appreciation of how quickly you need to react in a time of change. And compared to plans that I've seen around the world, I think they're quite mature and a good reflective approach to reaching an outcome. The droughts that we've experienced have been quite sobering, and it caught a lot of the people in the water industry in Eastern Australia napping when it first hit. But we've learned a lot from that now. What's interesting is to note that Western Australia has been in the teeth of a dreadful drought for about 30 years now, and they show no signs of coming out. So they're probably one of the most seriously affected cities in the world in that respect. So looking at the really severe challenge, WA is where it is. I suppose the challenges for the next 10 to 20 years, the three challenges that I can think of very quickly. One is that climate change is making inroads into what we do, not necessarily because it's hotter or drier, but because it does things to greater extremes than we're accustomed to. And there seems to be growing incidents around the world that just exceed normal expectations of storms and droughts and floods. The other area is that one of the fundamental issues to address in planning is the growth in demand. And we've got two opposing outcomes emerging. One is that people use less water than they used to and have responded very maturely to the need to conserve. But on the other hand, there's population growth, and we just don't know in these odd economic times just how much growth there's going to be. So we don't know how big the population will be, and nor do we know just how much water they'll use. So it's a really an exercise in guessing and estimating and being prudently allowing for outcomes that we just can't predict at all. And the final point that's a real challenge is that the nexus between planning for regions and planning for water isn't as good as it should be, I don't think, in most cases. So it's really important to get the overall planning process to embrace water rather than the water planners to try and second guess what's going to happen on the larger planning framework. And I think that's an issue that bedevils many water plan processes that I've seen around the world.